James Baldwin is my hero. You know what I mean? Like James Baldwin, and I love how he was so prescient. He saw stuff, it's like, this is not new. What we're going through is not new. You know, how we are dealing with it and how in our face it is, and the manifestations of it might seem new, but it's not. But he holds an attitude about it that I kind of hold. The reason, the thing that the white population of this country will learn more about studying Black history is themselves. The analogy I use sometimes is if I have a bucket of milk and I drop a drop of ink into it, there is no part of that black drop of ink that does not spend its entire existence in contact with white. There are parts of that bucket of white milk that never will even see that. So, if we want to learn about us, let's learn about us. You know what I mean? There's a documentary about Baldwin, and it's called I Am Not Your Negro. And there's a videotape of Baldwin in an interview, and he says, America needs to ask itself why it needed to have a nigger. He's like, I'm not a nigger. America might want to ask itself, what is it about this country that thought it needed one? And when you dive into that, then you will get closer to some truth.
And it's what you said about Baldwin. Why does our culture seem to need that kind of like mudsill? You know what I mean? That's a great question, by the way. That's a question we should all talk about. Like, why do we need that?
This racial stuff we're going through is not a Black people's problem. There's a quote from James Baldwin. I'm just going to say it. I'm not even going to look for the graphic. He was being interviewed by Esquire magazine, and it was during the riots. I forget, it was 1960 something. And the interviewer said, Mr. Baldwin, how do we get Black people to cool it? And he said, what are you talking about, cool it? He said, you know, the rioting and everything. He said, why do we need to cool it? He said, because you are the ones who are being hurt the most. He said, no, we are just the ones who are dying the most. Like, we don't get that this racism is a moral sickness. It is not a political issue. So, to answer the title question of this talk, why do we need to learn about this Black stuff? Because we need to learn about us. We need to learn about our stuff. Like, why do we need that? Why do we need to be better than someone? Those are the kind of questions we need to ask. And it's going to require bravery.
But here's, and then I promise.
You promised before.